Well, thanks everybody for joining. So our agenda for today, do a little welcome, a connection before content, review of CCL's values, missions, and policy agenda. And we're fortunate to have Leilani Chow here from Molokai, or Molokai, Clean Energy HOʻÜHU. So she'll give a short presentation. There can be some Q&A after that, and then we'll have some national CCL updates and actions to take, some rather important ones, and then we'll conclude with Hawaii updates. Okay, so connection before content here. So recognize that there are a lot of things out there that aren't going so well, especially at the federal level when it comes to climate change. But in an effort to keep this on maybe a little bit more positive note, I invite folks to put in the chat any climate wins, either locally or globally, that either you've heard of or actually participated in recently. I'll add a couple here that we had lined up here, actually. So, we have Al Gore's TED Talk back in June of 25. And just a short little YouTube clip here, 36 seconds. And then the International Court of Justice ruling around climate change. So now, if only our country could have a little bit of justice. But sorry, I'm for the editorializing.
I will add that I'm so inclined now to learn how to speak Chinese. They're making quite a bit of progress out there. I found I cheated here. I searched this up earlier. I found that because I think we've been hearing about the progress that they've been making, right, with clean energy, electrification of transportation. In the first half of this year, China installed 212 gigawatts of new solar. 212 gigawatts of new solar capacity, surpassing the total solar capacity of the U.S. at the end of last year.
Wow.
First half of the year.
Right.
So it just highlights that, and I think this is relevant to Sunday, right, coming up next month, that there's so much potential out there that we need to leverage, and despite what's happening at the federal level, I think that there's still quite a bit of advantage that households, businesses, governments can experience with investment in solar energy. Anyway, that was my positive.
So Noel and I are certainly on the same frequency, I guess. At the top of the hour, I put in a world in data chart of installed solar globally. And that was particularly interesting. And in the last 5 years, it's gone parabolic. And following is a YouTube about really sort of this kind of history that photovoltaics have had. I mean, up until the 70s, people weren't very interested in it. The oil shocks the U.S. got really excited about it. And then 1980 happened, which is probably kind of an allegory to our current time. And the Japanese and the Germans picked up solar in a big way. In fact, the Germans had a feed-in tariff, which really shot their installed solar. And it was basically kind of a PhD and entrepreneur sort of project for Chinese. And they went around to the Australians and figured out how they did it and got some things going. It wasn't until really the after of the global financial crisis that the Chinese really got underway. And in the last few years, they've been putting up a lot of solar. And that little YouTube at the end, they were discussing perhaps the future. And to interest on this call, they do mention a bit about balcony solar. So I encourage you to save the chat at the end. Anyway, there we are.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Noel. Bill, did you want to say anything about? That's pretty cool that you're going to be going on this hike with Senator Curtis.
Sure. Yeah, we've been actually, Curtis was in the House before this, and we have been meeting with him for quite a number of years, and we started to establish a hike with Curtis. The first time any CCLers had a relationship with Curtis is when he had a hiking town hall, he called it, and 7 people came, and 5 of them were CCLers, and so we had a corner on that one. And ever since, he's really, he's made himself available to the point now where the last couple of years he actually has reached out to us about scheduling the hike. So it's become a tradition, and we organize it. We have about 30 to 35 CCLers who come, and we organize sort of strategically what we're going to bring up with him. He's very open, and we just want to be sure that we're not we want to be sure we're staying within the CCL values of what we're communicating and our goals, and then really trying to be sure that, he's not getting different people to ask the same questions or bring up the same points. So we really try to think about that and create teams who are prepared for different aspects of the conversation, and then we just coordinate so that doesn't happen. So it's kind of evolved over time, and we're excited. Usually he likes to go for long, hard hikes. He likes them, the harder the better. But we tend to want to make it easier so that all of our volunteers can participate. But it's great. It's a great opportunity, and gives you a chance to hang out with the senator in a much more relaxed environment, and have more time to communicate.
So I suggest if he wants something harder, you should challenge him to a bike ride, and he should be part of your. See if he'll go with you for your 120 miles and as your fundraiser. So
that's a good idea. I should hit him up on it. He could still do it in September, I guess.
Yeah. Leilani, I'm not sure how much you know about CCL. So cut me off if I'm telling you things you already know, but I think, and Bill, please feel free to elaborate. So Bill is, I guess, what are you, Grand Regional Coordinator, one of 4 or what have you for CCL. And what Bill's describing, what they're doing with Senator John Curtis, federal senator, is, I would say, kind of the gold standard of where we would like to get as citizen lobbyists. So one of the main things about being citizens lobbyists is lobbying our members of Congress, our federal members of Congress. And so the idea of building relationships with them, and so we can then lobby on particular policies around climate change. And there are a couple slides here that'll say a bit more, but anyways, it just trying to say how Bill's work ties into what we're all trying to do as part of CCL. So thanks, Bill.
Yeah, and we certainly can't take all the credit. It's Curtis is enthusiastic and warm to the idea, which is gets us a long way in the process. So certainly it doesn't hurt to ask and be ready to hear a no. But it's definitely it takes 2 to tango, and he's really really good about wanting to engage with us, and really appreciates our values of respect and appreciation, and wanting to find common ground and work in that building relationships with everybody, not just one party or the other.
Right. Well, we'll challenge Brian Schatz to a hike, saying that John Curtis won. So Okay, better move along. Sorry, Noel. Do we go quickly through core values and our mission? So I'm not sure who is up here. Ruth.
You're muted, by
You're
the way.
muted. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. These are our core values. You can read them here on the slide. And I want to focus on optimism because that was our opening idea. So optimism in the face of challenges. We choose optimism. That people are good, that democracy can work, that we can solve climate change, and that we are greater than our flaws. Optimism turns our concern about climate change into action, and it's catching on. More and more people join us every day.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
So our mission is to create the political will for a livable world by empowering individuals to experience breakthroughs by exercising their personal power and their political power.
Thank you, Keith. And Ron?
Yeah, these are four main policy agendas, beginning in the top left with polluters pay, which is also known as carbon cashback, also known as carbon fee and dividend. And basically, fossil fuel companies pay a fee, which is calculated on the emissions they emit when their product is burned, goes into a trust fund, and the revenues collected go back to American families and individuals. A third part of that policy is a border adjustment, which penalizes the import of dirty carbon-intensive goods and gives a credit to U.S. manufacturers who export clean goods. We don't have a bill for that in Congress right now. It's unlikely. So CCL has expanded its policies to building electrification, healthy forests, and clean energy permitting reform. Thank you.
So I'd like to officially welcome Leilani Chow, who, as you can see, is an energy program manager at, I'm not sure, should I say sustainable or sustainable, Molokai and Molokai Clean Energy HOʻÄHU coordinator. I just want to add a personal note that Doug, Bobby, and I heard Leilani at the Hawaii Energy Conference on Maui back in May, and we're really impressed with you, Leilani, and hence why Doug reached out to you to have you speak to us. And I think what really I think one of the areas that in which we struggle is kind of the community involvement and bringing community, reaching out, what have you. So I think that's, at least for me, what excites me about getting to listen to you and hear kind of your wisdom and what have you around that, and whatever else you have to offer. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot. So thanks again for joining us. And Ron, I think, go ahead, Leilani, you can have control of the.
Mahalo. Mahalo for having me, you all. Nice to meet you folks and see some familiar faces on this call. One little update for the slide is that I actually work for HOʻΑHU Energy Cooperative Molokai now. And so there are three main energy-related organizations on Molokai. There's the Molokai Clean Energy HOʻÄHU, and they are taking the lead in making sure that the community is engaged and informed while we make our decision making. So they're more like the facilitators of the community-led planning, and the HOʻÄHU is staffed by the two other organizations, Sustainable Molokai and HOʻAHU. And so a lot of the actual work of like going out and researching the community's questions and translating it back into something that would make sense to an everyday person who's not an energy expert. That's my job, or our job as a HOʻÜH. But a lot of our HOʻÜH is volunteer-based as well. We have a lot of really awesome, dedicated community folks who have been tracking energy projects and energy decisions on Molokai for decades. And the other piece of our HOʻÜH, which has been like game changer for us, is that our HOʻÜH, our community group, also includes the other 6 energy decision makers for our island, which is the county, the state, PUC, HECO, folks like that. We have heard from past developers who have tried to do projects on our island and got to hear a little bit of why they didn't work out. We have energy experts who track the regulatory process, the Hawaii State Energy Office, of course, and just a really good diverse group of resource advisors who help our community speed up on our learning curve. So yeah, that's our like energy organization landscape for Molokai. And through the Molokai Clean Energy HOʻÜH is where we do our like united voice advocacy to the PUC, to HECO, to our county and state reps. Wherever it needs to go, the HOʻÜH takes the lead on making sure that the things get filed in the docket and the meetings get set up with the people that we need to talk to. But most of our work is like boots on the ground in our community, talking to all of our community members. Okay. Can you all see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Molokai Clean Energy HOʻÜH, HOʻāHU, and Sustainable Molokai have been helping to facilitate the community-led decisions on our island. We went from an island of supporting 0 renewable energy projects. A lot of it was to do with the projects being proposed by off-island parties and driven by off-island interests. And so none of them aligned with our community values. They didn't align with the lifestyle that we wanted for ourselves. They didn't align with our goals. And so we went from supporting 0 to designing 10 of our own. And these 10 projects that are like across the island right here, as you can see, these address everything from individual solutions to solutions for homestead agriculture, making sure that our critical infrastructure is all covered, electric transportation, and the last 10 to 20% of our firm energy needs. Sorry, all the words are like super small. But in order to make these 10 portfolio projects, these are still high-level concepts. We engaged almost 3,000 people across the community, collected hundreds and hundreds of surveys, 30 plus focus groups, 17 community events. I mean, we got the community engagement, but it was a lot of work to go out and get it. The great thing though was that, Okay, so of the 10 projects, we are moving forward with our top projects. And so these ones that are circled in green are the projects that moved into the next phase of technical feasibility study through the Department of Energy National Labs, NREL and PNNL. And most recently, starting right now, we have the next 14 months to go real deep into our top 3. So that's a floating solar project on the HOʻāHU Reservoir. This will cover all of Central Molokai's energy needs, including almost all of our critical infrastructure and water pumping. We have a community scale project for West Molokai. So this will cover all of West Molokai's needs. And then we have a pump storage hydro projects that we're really interested in for long duration energy storage. You can see on this map right here, we have our West End circuits, our Central Molokai circuits, and our East Molokai circuits. The goal for the end of our planning is to have all of these 3 like separate microgrids that are interconnected, so we can help out each other if anything happens. But each of these 3 main areas would have their own generation tailored to their communities' specific challenges and preferences, and also to have the workforce distributed across our island so that if anything happened, we would have folks to repair.
More resiliency. Yes.
Yes, yes. We know on Molokai that nobody's coming for us. We've got about 14 HECO workers on island, but every time we have major grid repairs to do, we need to fly people in from Maui or Oahu. And that's a lot of our critical infrastructure, actually. We do fly in a lot of folks from off island, and we'd like to be more sustainable in our workforce as we build our projects. So this is another graphic with a lot of tiny words. Don't worry about reading it. The way that we got the community engaged is by just straight up asking them how they would like to be engaged. What would you need to know in order to feel confident in making a well-informed decision for our future? And so we spent a lot of time doing our homework, as we like to call it, learning about our grid, the situation that we're in right now, where does our fuel even come from? How many generators do we have? Answering some of our community's top questions of like, why does the power go out so often? How come I live on the end of the line? And like, why is my lights flickering and my fan going slower? What am I actually paying for on my electric bill? How much of it goes to fuel and how much of it goes to HECO? We created a ton of PowerPoint presentations, short videos, dispatch articles, whatever the community said that they wanted, the way that they wanted to receive it, we had nothing to lose. And so we did it all. And as a result, we ended up having a very engaged community who's done a lot of work to build our foundation of energy understanding. From there, we went to folks' districts and collected our more quantitative data through administered surveys. So the HOʻÄHU volunteers would facilitate the discussion, break down the info for the community members to digest. Everyone would get some time to ask their questions, and then they would mark their responses on a survey. And in this most recent round, we've done this at 9 pop-up community events. And these events have hundreds to 1,000 people. But you have to tailor your information that you're sharing to a 5-minute window at best. Those are really good for temperature checks. And for, folks who are actually really interested, they can sign up and attend the get reminders for the longer meetings. Which is this right here, the in-person Kahua building workshops. So this is where we take the community members who are very interested in this, and we get to dive deep into the activities that help us understand, what's the difference between pump storage hydro and a battery, how much pump storage hydro could replace how much batteries, how much do we need on Molokai, those kinds of things. And then this right here is an example of our district discussions. So when we take the surveys out, we meet everybody where they're at. We have 4 main areas on Molokai: East, West, Central Mauka, and Central Makai. And so we ask them, where's a good place? When would you like it? What time of day? And what you like for dinner? All of our community events are very culturally grounded, right? So everybody who comes, they get a little to-go plate, and they can take home food for their families as well. We know we're asking a lot of folks to come out, especially during the time where everyone's at home making dinner, doing homework, watering the yard, hunting, fishing, that kind of stuff. And at these events, we also have a keiki activity that helps alleviate some of the mental space from their parents as they go through the presentation and fill out the survey. Yeah. We also, besides the process of how do folks want to be reached and what do they want to know before they can make decisions, we also ask them who should be at this table, who should we make sure to collect mana'o from. And when you ask the community those kinds of questions, they're very, very clear on exactly what they want, which makes my job easier. I can just go out and do the thing. So they wanted us to make sure we were tracking where people live, to make sure that each ahu pua'a was represented in this process. They wanted to know how long people lived on Molokai and wanted to make sure that the majority of the folks who were inputting their mana'o were lifelong Molokai residents. They wanted to know what age people are to make sure that this planning process is multi-generational and that we've consulted everyone from kupuna, our elders, to our OPO, our children. And then, of course, they want to make sure that we collected info on what people's ethnicities were. And their request is that it matches the ethnical makeup of our island, just to make sure everyone's there. Yeah. I'll stop here and see if anybody has any questions and whatnot. But maybe I'll just explain this slide real fast. This is the project development process from 0% to 100% complete, plugged into the grid. Folks can sign up for it. This whole process of like how a project actually gets designed was such a black box to the community and made it really frustrating for us to give our mana'o and also to trust what's happening with our mana'o that's getting sent in, right? Like, is it even worth our time? Are they going to do anything with it? And so understanding all of the different pieces and where we're at, which is we're at this yellow part right now, and moving down, the community was able to identify which parts they want to be a part of. And that helps our advocacy to the PUC or to HECO in saying, okay, the community will only strongly support a project if we're able to weigh in and see the results of the geotechnical study, or if the environmental impacts and cultural impacts happen before the project goes out for proposal or for bids, you know. And this has been such a helpful tool for us in our journey to designing our own projects and eventually owning them as well.
Leilani, this is so amazing. Thanks very much for socializing this. I think that many of us here are also involved in other organizations that have similar challenges, right? And what I'm referring to is the need to really be inclusive so that we can actually understand what the needs are, and it's very clear that there's not a one size fits all approach, right? I mean, if you're just going to do a survey, you may as well not do anything at all, right? Because people may not necessarily engage with that mechanism. I'm curious because it seemed very involved. Obviously there were a number of quite a few volunteers that were involved, but it also sounded or appeared that resources like funding resources were necessary. I'm just curious about how the group is funded, or how where it secures the resources to be able to execute its mission.
Yeah, so far most of the funding for the Molokai Clean Energy HOʻÄHU staffing has come from private grants. Sustainable Molokai is in charge of finding the funding for their staff member that they're contributing as like a core team coordinator, and so is HOʻΑHU. But for the projects themselves, we've been super fortunate to get private grants and in-kind technical expertise. So in the very first round, the HNEI, the Hawaii Natural Energy Institute out of UH Manoa, they provided the high-level feasibility study for us. And then as soon as we were done with that, we had submitted it to the PUC and also applied for 2 DOE programs. There's the ETIP program, Energy Transition Initiative Partnership Project, and E2C, which is Clean Energy to Communities, I believe. Energy to Communities, yeah. Okay. And so they provided technical assistance. We were still in charge of finding the funding for our on-island staff. Except for the E2C program, they have a little bit of funding for the staff and for the technical assistance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. One of the things that we identified at the end of CRAP 1.0, though, was that the Molokai community is doing the job of HECO, of the county, of the state in planning. Originally, HECO was going to do an island-wide plan, and that was what we had asked the PUC to pause so that we could do it ourselves. With HECO, they were not going to just step away, but we had asked if they could support us by providing us with our data. And so at the end, we were like, hey, it would make sense for there to be more permanent streams of funding through the county or state to at least give communities the option to do this. I mean, finding the funding ourselves was a pretty big hurdle for us to do on top of the actual work. And so if we're doing the job of these other folks, then perhaps it would make sense for them to contribute.
Well, I do hope or wish the team the best in terms of getting through that entire plan. Clearly, there are multiple steps that are still needing to be gone through. I have one last question, and it's about challenges. So, as you've gone through this community outreach process, what was perhaps the most challenging task or experience, and how did you go about addressing that? Just trying to anticipate what we may go through as we go through this process.
I think the biggest challenge was translating from the technical team, right? They're giving us spreadsheets of data and very technical language, which sometimes feels like a foreign language. And it goes through like multiple layers of translation before it's good enough to go to the community. And each of those layers of translation takes a lot of time. The HOʻÜH does a big chunk of it, right? It comes from the technical team to the HOʻÜH, and we have our resource advisor and our dedicated community folks help with translating it into the right metaphor or the right visual that would be easily digested by the community. And then the core team takes it out to the community. The Molokai HOʻÜH members take it out to the community, and we got to translate it back to the technical team, right? The community saying, we're worried about this, we don't like that. And translating it into the edits to the actual projects is just a lot of work as well. The two-way translation, I think, was the biggest barrier for us, maybe, or maybe just the most time-consuming. But we stayed strong and didn't skip any of those steps of like informing the community and like advocating for ourselves to the technical team. That also is a lot of work, right? Their technical folks are definitely not used to like community being disinvolved. They usually have a client that says, we want this, they go and do it and bring it back. And so it's just like a total dynamic change for them to have a community giving them direction at every step of the way. And it took a lot of advocacy on our behalf.
Right. Two-way facilitation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew there was island discussions going on, but I had no idea how deep and how broad. I was so impressed with that chart that you had, east, west, and central. The project that I knew most about was the CBRE project, and you didn't say anything about it. Do you want to share anything?
Yeah, sorry, I always skip over this one, but that was part of the portfolio of 10 projects. The community strongly supported and designed this project through HOʻΑHU, and they went real deep. Like they picked the exact type of panels and the batteries and like the trees that were being cut down. They picked what trees would be replaced and where they would be replaced at, all of it. It took a really long time, but that's how you get a project that is de-risked in that way, which has a lot of financial benefits too, right? If there's a project that has made it that far in design with all of that investment, it doesn't get opposed by a community when it's time to
right. You have community buy-in.
Yeah.
Because they are a part of it. They are a part of the project, really.
Yeah.
They have ownership.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that project, the CBRE project, the community does own through HOʻAHU, the community's co-op, and we'll be providing 20% of our energy needs. So on island, we've got about 500 rooftop solar systems. That's 14% of our energy provided, and that's it. With the CBRE project, that'll take us to 34%. Yeah.
It's good news.
Yeah, we're making progress.
What does CBR, whatever you said, stand for?
Community-based renewable energy. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thanks so much, Leilani, for all of this. I'm just curious, given the experience with CBRE on Molokai, has that led to any changes in HECO's behavior? because on Oahu, as I'm sure you know, right? I mean, they built the wind farms out in Kahuko, and I would say they weren't exactly wildly successful from a community standpoint. So it seems that, I don't know, from an outsider's perspective, what you're saying, that there was great cost saving by actually what seems like a much longer and maybe more painful process to the company. But in the long run, it actually, financially, it seems like it's a better result, right? What you've done on Molokai versus what they did on Oahu. So has that led to any, changes, do you think? Or
I'm not too sure. I haven't seen changes to Hiko's like procurement process necessarily.
okay.
Um, I do think maybe it makes them think twice about the value they place on community engagement. One of the things that we asked for at that PUC status conference is that Hiko's self-build team does not put in a bid on that project, and we made the case of why not. And the PUC said, yeah, don't disqualify the Hiko self-build team. But other than that, I've yet to see how it will like translate into the way that they center community in decision making. They've been good about attending all of our HOʻÄHU meetings and providing data under NDA to the technical teams that we have. But other than that, it's still a big. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to ask, Leilani, are you tracking the amount of fossil fuels that you burn on Molokai? Is that significant for the work that you're doing?
We're sort of tracking it. We have a general idea of how much we're importing specifically for making our energy. And since that's basically the only way that our energy is being made, we can kind of put two and two together. It hasn't come up in a way that we like know how to address yet, but we do know that even the 20% CBRE project, if it displaces 20% of the fuel that we're importing to Molokai, that may be enough to like not be allowed to go on the specialized fuel barge anymore and have to be trucked in or barged in with fuel trucks. And if that happens, then the price of everyone else's fuel, gas, all of that is going to go up a lot, which is something that we don't want to happen. And so there's still a lot of work to be done outside of designing the projects themselves to make sure that when they're implemented, nobody gets, unfair burdens in this process.
Absolutely, that's great. And do you feel that the trajectory that you're on right now is going to lead to the state goal of net zero by 2045?
I think so. It could for us if the projects that the community is really interested in continue to have the support of everyone else. The 3 projects that I mentioned that we're going deeper into like 30% project design, the areas that the community is interested in having them are the State Department of Ag's reservoir, a couple county parcels. And so we're working on site control, and we're about to find out how willing they would be to, let us look into the community's top preference. I think we could, all of the work that we've done feels like it's been really slow. Like we've spent 4 years getting to like 10% design, but I feel very confident that because we built a really, really strong foundation in those first 4 years, the project design piece will move along quickly. And hopefully that is enough community engagement to make the case for expediting certain parts of the process that take abnormally long for no apparently good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Anytime.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or...
I,
Well,
I
thank
would,
you.
I
Oh,
would
go
just,
ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I would just like to say one more thing. So, just reflecting on everything you presented, and then also your last few comments, I can't help but applaud the focus on really balancing. There's the environmental component, there's the social and equity component, and then there's also the economic component, right? I mean, we don't want to do something that will all of a sudden make it, raise prices, and that will then negatively impact households, right? So it's a delicate balance, and it sounds like as you're going through this journey, you're taking that into account. So, definitely worth emulating across all the different projects we do across the state. Thank you.
Mahalo, guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Leilani. You're welcome to stay on if you'd like. We're going to talk about some of the national priorities and some of the stuff we're doing at the state level. So certainly encourage you to stay on, but don't feel obligated if you've got to run somewhere. But thanks so much again for presenting. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'll stay on. I'm interested in hearing, but I'm gonna go camera off so I can fold some laundry. Okay, mahalo.
Thank you.
Mahalo, Leilani.
Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the August meeting of Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm Flannery Winchester, CCL's Vice President of Communications, and I'm your host for today's meeting. So I want to start off today's call by talking a bit about our value here in CCL of nonpartisanship. So this is something that is important to us, not just when we work with Congress, with our lawmakers, but it's something that runs really deep in how we think about all of our activities and how we show up with each other, too. We are a diverse group of individuals from all backgrounds, and we're here because we're united by a shared goal. We're trying to create the political will for a livable world. So no matter your political views or your personal identity, if you're committed to working together with respect, appreciation, and gratitude, you are welcome here at CCL. And of course, we bring that value with us, and we did bring it with us to our conference and lobby day last month, where we came together, volunteers of all political stripes, to lobby lawmakers, Republicans, Independents, Democrats alike, on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. It's a powerful demonstration of what we're all about. So we're going to celebrate that here for a bit at the top of the meeting, and as well as I'll give you a few other updates that have happened at the national level since our last meeting. And if you'd like to share any of your CCL personal wins or chapter updates in the Q&A, go ahead and do that as well, and I'll read some of those local updates aloud in a few minutes after I share our national highlights. So, at the national level, as I mentioned, our big headline this month is that since our last meeting, we had yet another successful summer conference and lobby day. So I'm going to hand it over to CCL's Interim Executive Director, Ricky Bradley, who's going to share some highlights from this year's event. Ricky?
Thank you, Flannery, and thank you for everyone and the more than 800 CCL volunteers from across the country who came to DC for this year's summer conference and lobby day. It is an incredible group of people. When you get in there for a while and you mix it up and you start just talking to everybody, you just realize what are all the different things that people bring to this advocacy. And there's nothing like being in that hotel room, that banquet room, or full of CCL volunteers. It's just an incredible energy, and so it always gives me an opportunity to sort of rebalance myself each summer. So I really appreciate everyone who is there. I also want to give a big shout out to our National Events Director, Allison Cabisco. There she is. Maybe go back a slide, Josh, or two. You'll see a picture of Allison up there on the slide next to me. There you go. She makes this event happen. And, maybe folks don't see Allison all the time because she is sort of more behind the scenes than some of our other national members. But I know you all feel the enormous impact of her work. And, it's a big special event that she puts on every year. So I just want to give her kudos for that. So the conference this year included, as always, breakouts and special sessions so we could really go deeper on policy. We went really deep on policy this year, and lobby meeting preparation as well. And I was impressed with everyone's excitement to learn and their commitment to really thoroughly and carefully prepare for the lobby meetings. I mean, every year it seems like people are more thorough and more prepared than they ever were in the past. I don't know how to rank that, but it really felt that way this year as well. And then on lobby day, we had more than 400 meetings on Capitol Hill. So that is just huge. It sends such a big signal to our members of Congress. Our social media was flooded with people's photos from their lobby meetings. I mean, the whole day was just an incredible show of broad constituent support for climate and clean energy policy. And, as we talked about at the conference, what we do matters and is very necessary. And the folks on Capitol Hill and off Capitol Hill, even the folks that we meet with that are off Capitol Hill, are always impressed with our staying power through this moment and our constancy. Now, our lobby meetings that were on that day were also supported by over 2,000 calls, I think 2,088 calls, there you go, from folks at home on that Monday and that Tuesday. And that went a really long way towards amplifying our in-person presence on the Hill. It's amazing you walk into an office and they're like, oh yeah, I just got off the phone with some CCL volunteers who are trying to talk to us about your being there and being available for that day. So I want to give a big thank you to everyone who attended, everyone who called Congress, everyone who supports CCL with your donations throughout the year. Obviously, that's really important. And just thanks to everyone who cheered us on while we're, through your social media posts. It really helped make this year's event just a huge success. And I think I'll hand it back to you, Flannery, so you can highlight really one important impact that we've seen that I think you can directly draw a line from our lobby day. So Flannery, why don't you talk about that for a sec?
Absolutely. So one of our lobby day asks was for lawmakers to reject any additional guidance from the White House that might try to further restrict tax credits for clean energy like wind and solar. So we saw the One Big Beautiful Bill Act pass in July. That unfortunately did roll back many clean energy tax credits. And so what we were talking about on the Hill on July 22nd was we wanted lawmakers to reject any additional rollbacks. And so then a week later, we saw Politico report that a handful of Senate Republicans are, quote, escalating their pressure on the Trump administration to back off its efforts to limit solar and wind energy projects. So the story named a couple shout outs: Senator Mike Rounds of South Dakota, Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Senator John Curtis of Utah. And CCL volunteers met with all of those offices or the members themselves on July 22nd. And then this week, we also saw Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa joined Senator Curtis in actually placing a hold on several Treasury Department nominees because they're expecting the agency to clamp down further on tax credits for wind and solar energy. And CCLers also met with Senator Grassley himself on July 22nd. So this is a direct example of members of Congress following through on this key part of our primary ask. So that's really encouraging to see. And I'll say another update about things going on from Washington, out of Washington recently. So you may have seen headlines or social media discussion about the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, planning to get rid of something called the endangerment finding. So this is a 2009 declaration that says that planet-warming greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide pose a threat to public health. And because of that threat, it empowers the EPA to regulate those greenhouse gases. So without the endangerment finding, the EPA may not be allowed or able to regulate greenhouse gas pollution from sources like power plants or vehicle tailpipes as they have done for years. So we know that many folks are appropriately concerned about this potential change, and the EPA's proposed rollback here is actually open to public comments until September 15th. So what we've decided to do from CCL National is we're going to submit a formal comment during this period to represent the perspective of the organization. So as we've discussed, here in CCL in recent months, we don't typically engage directly with federal agencies because we focus our work on Congress, where constituent voices have the most direct impact and influence. But in a case like this, the EPA is in fact defying congressional effort and intent by reinterpreting certain laws that relate to greenhouse gas regulation and the EPA's role. So it's an opportunity for us to step up here one more way to encourage and support Congress in exerting its own authority around climate policy. So Dana Nuccitelli, CCL's research manager, is putting that comment together on CCL's behalf, and we will post a blog about that on our website with a bunch more detail once that's finalized and submitted. So keep an eye out for that.
I put a few links in the chat. Flannery mentioned CCL's response to EPA's proposal to rescind the endangerment finding. As she said, this is pretty serious business if they were to do this. So I'd say CCL is, and I'll just put in my personal request, that if people have the time to submit testimony to oppose the EPA's proposal here. So there in the chat, as I said, there's Dana's response to this. There's this requested action, I believe, goes to CCL's page about, or somebody's page about how you can actually submit testimony to the EPA. And then the last link I've provided is actually an action guide from another organization. So I believe it's kind of a step-by-step how to submit testimony. So anyways, have until September 15th, but as I said, highly encourage that action to be taken. And then...
Yeah, go ahead, Paul. If you can put that link in the chat, that would be great.
In there now? Sorry,
yep, there it
cut
is.
you off, but I'm just going to go fast here. So another critical thing in front of us is protecting many of the agencies that are that help in the area of climate change, from collecting data on Mauna Loa, when we're talking about NOAA, all the NASA research from satellites and whatever else, and Department of Energy work. And so the Trump administration wants to reduce the funding for these. And so again, reaching out, sending emails to Congress to encourage that funding does not get cut from these organizations related to climate change. Okay, so
well, tsunamis and severe storms.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, so the whole NOAA thing, that affects the red states too. So I have some hopes with that one. No offense there, Bill, living in Utah. But anyways.
Yeah, the NOAA funding can, if it became law, if the budget cuts become law, that could end the Mauna Loa Observatory's tracking of greenhouse gases, which began in 1958 and is acknowledged as the world standard for carbon dioxide pollution in our atmosphere. So it's a big deal for us on Hawaii Island. Very sad.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Noel. You can go to the next one. So just a few actions. And actually, Leilani, just want to raise something else that we're involved with. It's Climate Future Forum, which is a youth-led group, gets together with lawmakers to discuss climate policies and trying to give youth a chance to use their voices to influence our state level lawmakers. I don't know if you're in touch with any youth on Molokai who would be interested in something like this. If you are, I'd be happy to send you some information or talk further about this. So I'll throw that out. In terms of other activities that we're involved with, we work with Hawaii Green Growth, and we're working with them to update some of their metrics. And then let's see. Let's continue. Next slide, Noel.
Most everyone should know about this, right? This is the result of the Navahini settlement. So there's this plan, this draft plan that's been communicated and socialized for public comment. The comment period ends at the end of this month, and I think there's an opportunity here for us to include our feedback, recommendations across a number of different dimensions in the report. So there's a link there. It will take you to the website where you can actually take a look at the information and then also provide feedback. Thank you.
Okay, so unfortunately, Virginia's not here, but I don't know if anybody noticed on the video you shared, I believe Virginia was on the bottom part of that screen as one of the participants. So anyways, Virginia does a great job. And thanks to Noel too, who's established great relationships with the Star advertiser. So had a lot of success as a group getting pieces published. And big thanks to John Kawamoto, who the first two, though, sorry, no disrespect, Ruth, but the author was, and the piece that I submitted was basically authored by John. So big shout out to him. But thank you, Ruth, for putting your name on that. Great to see. And Sophia Park is a youth, and she got her piece published. So great to see the youth getting some attention here. I think we know about this. Let me just go to the last one. So, oh, sorry. Yeah, carbon cashback, Hawaii that we mentioned. Sorry, just giving this to you, Leilani, for complete information dump here. So we, on the local level, when it comes to carbon fee and dividend or carbon pricing, we're strong advocates of a policy called carbon cashback, which, as Ron described earlier, puts a price on fossil fuels through the barrel tax and gives the money back to Hawaii residents in equal shares to make the policy progressive, unlike a conventional gasoline tax. A couple studies showing that on average it would benefit most households in Hawaii, especially those of low and middle income. And here are the meeting times for the group. Welcome new folks. If you want to hear more about it, again, Leilani, feel free to email me. Happy to send out the links to the various meetings. And with that, I think let you go, except for, is there a last one about a link to logging your attendance? I'll put it in the chat. So, yeah. And I'm done.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you, Paul. And don't forget to save the chat.
Oh, thank you, Ruth. I failed to do my full job. Okay.
Great job, everyone. Leilani, many thanks, many mahalos for your sharing today. Definitely, this video is going to be shared, so there will be the opportunity for others to learn how to engage with the community. So thanks for the inspiration.
Yes, mahalo nui loa.
Yeah.
Mahalo for having me, you all. HOʻÄHU.
Hello. Thanks, Ron. Thanks to everybody who put the deck together. So,
yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Have a good dinner, everybody.